Tony, thanks for being with us here. I'd like to ask you to introduce yourself and tell me what you do.
Well, I'm Tony Mendoza, and I'm right now a community organizer. I have a long history of work in the culinary industry. I've been a teacher and counselor. I've done a number of other different kinds of jobs.
And here at the Civic Center, what do you do?
Here at the Civic Center, I host a a Mexican music program called Canciones de mi Padre. It's Songs of My Father. My dad was born in Mexico and came to the United States as a child, a couple of years old. And so my affinity growing up has always been with Mexican music, the traditional Mexican music. So that's what I play. Kind of a takeoff on Linda Ronstadt's production that she did, Canciones de mi Padre, which was to honor her father, who was from Mexico.
And this is being done here at the Koca Radio here in the Civic Center?
Right.
And before Koca was here, were you working when it was at the other location?
I did. I came back to Laramie in 2009, and I worked for Koca Radio as their station manager, and did that for about a year. And then I went to work for the Lincoln Community Center. They were organizing a reconstruction and renovation of the building, and I worked with them for about probably 8 or 9 months. And then in the meantime, I was hosting John Koca's program, and he took a couple years break from doing his radio program. And I took that over, did that for a few months, and then he decided to come back to his program, The Best of New Mexico, it's called. And then he said, well, you can start your own program. And so I thought, well, what would I name it? How would I call it? And he said, well, Songs of My Father. I said, yeah, Canciones de mi Padre. And so that's where it started. So I think we had already moved over here to the Civic Center when I started my program on Sunday mornings.
So give me a little idea of what it was like working in the other location before you moved here. What were the facilities like? Well,
it was an old elementary school that had been closed for a number of years. It was in terrible disrepair. There were leaks in the roof. I remember one day talking about the weather, and it was snowing outside, and I could feel the snow coming down through the ceiling and kind of on me in the studio, sitting in the studio. So, and I said to my audience, I don't have to go outside to see what the weather's like or even look out the window, because it's snowing on me here in the studio, and it would drip on us when it rained. And it was a huge project to get the building renovated and get it up to code and everything, but it's there now, and it's functioning as a community center. And a school, Head Start is in there. Montessori was in there before for 5 years, and now Head Start has moved into that facility, and Montessori moved on to another building.
Now, I want to take you back. I know that your family was involved in Spanish programming on radio years ago. Can you talk about that a little bit?
It was in the early 70s when my mother and her friend, Mrs. Cortez, started a program called La Voz de la Raza, the Voice of the People. And it was a Mexican music program for 2 hours on Sunday afternoons. The first hour they took dedications, and then the second hour they played the dedications, and they did the news in the mid-hour in Spanish. They translated the news. And they got so busy toward the end that they asked me to come in and help. And my uncle, Frank Gonzalez, he was my uncle by marriage, came in, and we were helping them find the music that had been dedicated or asked for, and then they played that in the second hour, so we were helping them out with that. In the meantime, Mrs. Cortez got very ill. She had some physical conditions, and she got so ill that she couldn't stay with the program. So she decided to leave, and so my mother left with her when they left the program, and so my uncle and I took over, and we did it probably for about another 3 or 4 years after that.
Wow.
We started out downtown next to the Moose Building. There was a radio station there, KOWB it was called, and then Bill Sims came to town, bought KOWB, and changed it to KOJO, Cowboy Radio, and we were there for another year or so, and then we moved eventually to West Laramie, where they had a little building out there by where the reclamation yard is now, where they do recycling of metal and stuff. Out there in that area, there was a little building, and we were there for probably another year and a half in that building.
So there wasn't much in terms of Spanish radio between the 70s and when Koca was going on?
No, not at all. And La Voz de la Raza was primarily an initiative by the radio station. and Mrs. Cortez. Mrs. Cortez thought it would be a good idea to have some kind of music programming to the Latino community in Laramie. And so she was instrumental in getting it going. And of course, the owner of the station was very happy to accommodate that and kind of reach out to the Latino community in Laramie.
Okay, well, last thing I want to ask you is the current programming that you're doing on Koca. What are some of the things that we could listen to that you do or that are also appearing on the station?
We have two new programmers. One is Thursday Night Buffet with a man who does like a mix of music, different kinds of musics. We have another program, new program that's on Thursday night. On Friday, it's New Mexico music, kind of similar to what John Koca plays. John has the Best of New Mexico on Mondays and Wednesdays. This other new programmer is on Friday. And they don't use their real names on the radio, so that's why I'm not saying who they are.
Okay.
And then we have some young men who do an after
It's a mix of Spanish and English, is that right?
Well, this young man who does the program on Friday doesn't speak Spanish, but he does Mexican music from New Mexico.
Okay.
And the other young man who does the Thursday show is English speaking. He's not Latino at all. And then my program on Sunday mornings, Canciones de mi Padre, and that's all in Spanish. And it's Mexican music, traditional Mexican music. John Koca does a Monday, Wednesday program, the Best of New Mexico. And then we have some young men on Thursday evening who do the after hours show that's called. And it's usually a genre-based kind of music. It's different every week, whatever they pick in terms of a theme of music.
Okay.
And so right now that's what we have going. Well, we have a young woman who does a program after mine on Sundays. It's a mix program. She does a lot of music off of her iPhone and her computer. I guess it's an iPhone or an iPad, something. But it's a very interesting program. She does a lot of like Motown and once in a while some country western, but it's a mix of music. So it's very nice. It's a very, very nice compliment to my program after I finish on Sundays.
Okay, well, that sounds like an exciting lineup. Thanks for sitting down with us, Tony, and we'll tune in.
Well, thank you very much.